Self-hate is not just about negative self-talk. It is often hidden in the quiet ways that we hold ourselves back, we betray our own needs, or we let shame dictate our lives. There are subtle but very powerful behaviors that stem from self-hate, and they are so damaging. Number one, not putting yourself or your desires first. Constantly prioritizing other people's needs over your own reinforces the belief that your desires don't matter. This is going to lead to burnout. This is going to lead to resentment and a deeper disconnect from your true self. There is so much cultural and familial conditioning that teaches people, especially women, to view self-prioritization as selfish. It's not selfish. In fact, it's actually really attractive and really self-honoring to put your own needs and desires first. I find it very off-putting when people put everyone else before themselves. It's pathetic. It's not honorable. It tells me a lot about how you value yourself, what you believe you're worth. Procrastination is self-sabotage. It isn't just laziness. People are not just being lazy when they're procrastinating. People who are procrastinating oftentimes have a very real fear and lack of self-trust. So self-hate shows up in avoiding what's important to you because you are afraid that you're not good enough. And this behavior just feeds a cycle of shame and guilt and inaction. And it repeats itself over and over. And it gets stronger and stronger and more difficult to break out of. Take a very real look at your behavior. Be honest with yourself about why you're not doing the things that you say you want to do. Why does your life not look the way you say you want it to look? Expose all of the excuses. That's the only way that anything's going to change. If you are settling for less in life, this is rooted in a subtle form of self-hatred because it's what leads you to accepting less than you deserve. Whether it's in your relationships, whether it's in jobs, whether it's with any personal goal that you have. You might have an internal dialogue that's constantly telling you that this is as good as it's going to get. Wanting more is not realistic. You don't deserve more. You'll just fuck it up anyways. All of these beliefs, it might sound harsh to say that they're rooted in self-hate, but they're not rooted in self-love. They're not. They're disguised as self-protection and as concern and as looking out for yourself and trying to avoid failure. But that's not protective. That is not protective. And it's not keeping you safe because you're actually in very real danger. You are in danger of missing out on your life. You are in danger of losing the opportunity to live this one life that you've been given, this one opportunity to be who you truly are, to embrace yourself and your life fully, to do all of the things that you want to do, to experience this life to its fullest capacity. So all of that protection, that is not love. That's not self-love keeping you safe. Self-love would not prevent you from experiencing the kind of life that lights you up inside when you think about it. Self-love would be supporting you and telling you to go after it. Make it real. Make it happen. So if you are staying in relationships that are unfulfilling, where you feel like you're withering away or you're wilting inside, if you are staying in a job where you feel deflated going to work every day, or whether you're just avoiding risks that could lead to so much growth because you're afraid, please reevaluate. It's never too late, and we don't have an infinite amount of time here. Ask yourself why you're staying in these situations. Are you doing it to appease other people? Bosses, partners? Self-hate is what fuels that need to appease other people. Even when it means betraying your own values, your own boundaries. It comes from this fear of rejection, this avoidance of conflict and confrontation. But it is rooted in this belief that you're not lovable as you are. It might sound far-fetched, but sit and work with these beliefs and you keep tracing them back further and further, you eventually arrive at that realization. Take a look at your relationships. Take a look at the job that you're in. Do you find yourself over-apologizing? Do you find yourself avoiding sharing your own opinions? Do you find yourself staying silent when there's so much that you want to say? Every time that you do that, you are slowly eroding your self-worth. You have to become familiar with the shame, the toxic shame that is controlling your psyche. Shame and toxic shame are different. Toxic shame is not just feeling bad about something that you've done. It's believing that you are fundamentally bad or you are fundamentally unworthy or wrong. It stems from past experiences, criticism that you maybe received in your childhood, trauma that you went through, or just societal conditioning, which is very, very impactful. And it manifests in our relationships and our circumstances in adulthood. Maybe you find yourself withdrawing from opportunities because you just don't think that you're worthy or deserving. Maybe you avoid vulnerability because you feel like your emotions and showing up in a very raw way would not be accepted or would be condemned or would be criticized. Maybe you're constantly replaying past mistakes and you use this as fuel to feed this shame spiral in your mind that just keeps convincing you that there's so much evidence of why you should be ashamed. And you're just gripped by this. But this shame and self-hatred keep you small by convincing you that your dreams are not attainable and that you don't deserve success. And there are subtle ways that this shows up. Self-deprecating humor, dismissing your goals as unrealistic, or just downplaying your own potential, downplaying your achievements. Those are not self-loving behaviors, and they're not serving you. Making fun of yourself, downplaying your success or your achievements, and minimizing all of your amazing, brilliant qualities is not loving. Imagine if you overheard people having a conversation and they were talking about you and one of them was talking about you the way that you talk about yourself, making those deprecating jokes, downplaying your successes, talking about you like you're not that great. Oh, you could still stand to lose a few pounds, or oh, you didn't do that well, or oh, you only have a bachelor's degree, you never got your master's, and just constantly invalidating how incredible you are. How would that feel if you heard someone doing that? Why do you do it to yourself? Self-hate makes you hyper aware of other people's opinions to the point where you shape your life around avoiding judgment. You might change the way you dress, change the way you speak, or act in ways that you feel are acceptable instead of authentic. But this is a life defined by fear, and we are going for a life defined by self-expression. That is the goal here. So it might be comfortable for you to exist in that space because it's what you're used to. But ultimately, it's just reinforcing low self-worth. And no matter what actions you take, if that's the energy behind them, you aren't going to create the life that you want. You have to start behaving from a place of worthiness. That no matter what you do, no matter what you achieve, no matter what your life looks like, that actually doesn't matter. Because what matters is how you feel about your life. You have to stop focusing on appearing perfect, being productive all the time. That mindset creates this never-ending cycle of dissatisfaction. Because what you're looking for is external validation, and that is never going to fill an internal void. Productivity and perfectionism can show up in so many areas. It can show up in our appearance. Maybe you obsess over minor flaws that you think that you have. Maybe you refuse to ever rest. Let yourself rest. Maybe you're constantly moving the goalpost of success further and further. When is it ever going to be good enough? When are you ever going to be good enough? You get to decide that. You get to decide that right now. Another example is failing to set boundaries. Self-hate will convince you that saying no or standing up for yourself is selfish or it's just unnecessary. It's not worth it. We don't want to rock the boat. But letting people overstep your boundaries erodes your self-respect and it reinforces feelings of powerlessness. So much of this ties back to a fear of abandonment or rejection. So we learned and constructed these patterns to try to ensure that we were never abandoned, that we were never rejected, that we always secured love from the people who we relied on for survival. But you're an adult now. And you are relying on yourself for survival now. You're no longer required to shapeshift in order to survive. You get to embrace who you are. You get to show up as you are. And if that's not enough for other people, that's okay. Another way that it shows up is letting life happen to you instead of taking charge of your life. It manifests as passivity, waiting for things to change rather than actively shaping your life. You have this belief that you don't have power, that you don't have agency, that you don't have the knowledge or the worth to create the life that you want. But this only leads to regret, and it reinforces the idea that you're a victim of circumstance, not the architect of your future. But you are not a victim. We have all been through difficult experiences. We have all experienced pain. We have all suffered. We've all been dealt a bad hand. No one was given the perfect set of circumstances, but you are the architect of your life. You get to make a choice whether or not you're going to continue believing the lies that you're telling yourself about yourself, or whether you are going to be the person that you always needed to support yourself, to love yourself, to encourage yourself. Playing the victim, it can look so innocent. People often get a lot of positive reinforcement to continue behaving in that way, because when you behave like a victim, you're looking for someone to come and rescue you, to save you, because you don't have any control, right? So there will be people who feel sorry for you and who will feed into your disempowering story. But all that does is strip you of more and more of your power. It's not helpful. It's not loving. It's not supportive. If you truly loved yourself, how would your life look different than it looks today? If you can recognize these behaviors, you're one step closer to breaking free and building a life that is rooted in self-respect and care. This is probably a very fitting video to watch next, and that is all for today. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.